The world is filled with fascinating ideas and complex phenomena. But alongside these comes an ever-present and seemingly unstoppable plague: conspiracy theories. From the outrageous to the downright absurd, conspiracy theories manage to turn even the simplest facts on their head, creating a whole parallel universe of alternative explanations. What's worse, these theories tend to attract a peculiar group of people who fancy themselves intellectual rebels, fighting against what they perceive as mainstream narratives. In reality, these conspiracy theorists are often nothing more than delusional individuals whose limiting understanding of the world forces them into nonsensical conclusions. At their fundamental core, conspiracy theories tend to reject basic, easily verifiable facts. Whether it's denying the shape of the Earth, questioning the moon landing, or insisting that the world leaders are reptilian overlords, these ideas negate simple truths in favor of elaborate, dramatic alternatives. And why? Because the truth, in all its simplicity, is somehow not exciting enough for these people. Let's take one of the most famous and irrational conspiracy theories: the Flat Earth theory. Despite overwhelming scientific evidence such as satellite imagery, gravity, and centuries of navigational success that depends on the Earth being round, there exists a vocal minority who still insist the Earth is flat. They cling to their evidence, which typically includes dubious YouTube videos, cherry-picked quotes from old texts, and some warped sense of visual perception. These theorists reject basic physics and centuries of astronomical research, all because the idea that the Earth might be anything other than a pancake just doesn't sit well with their limited comprehension of science. Now, if someone genuinely couldn't grasp the scientific reasons behind the Earth's roundness, you would think they might sit down and do some research, right? Wrong. What makes conspiracy theorists stand out is their unwillingness to accept evidence. Instead, they wrap themselves in their own little world filled with narratives that are far more exciting in their minds than reality. But here's the kicker: they don't just deny facts. They actually believe they are smarter for doing so. It is as if denying reality makes them part of an intellectual elite, one that's privy to hidden knowledge that the rest of us sheeple are just too blind to see. What's amusing and slightly sad about conspiracy theorists is that a lot of their behavior stems from a desperate attempt to be different or seem cool. In their minds, rejecting mainstream facts and shouting, "Wake up, people," somehow sets them apart as critical thinkers. But really, all it does is make them look like individuals who are unable to process simple truths. They dismiss decades or centuries of research and expert opinion because it does not align with their version of reality, one where rejecting fact is apparently the coolest thing one can do. Consider the absurd theory that the moon landing was staged. This one's been around for decades, and despite all the evidence to the contrary, including moon rocks, testimonies from astronauts, and the countless people involved in the project, there are still people who insist it was a hoax. They'll point to shadows in photographs, ask why the flag appears to wave in windless environment, and even suggest that Stanley Kubrick directed the whole thing. But none of these questions hold up under scrutiny. The flag appears to move because it was attached to a pole to make it stand out. The shadows in photos are the result of the uneven lunar surface and multiple light sources, including the sun. The conspiracy falls apart under even the smallest investigation. Yet, believers persist. And why? Because for them, it is not about the truth. It is about being the kind of person who claims to know something the rest of us don't. In short, it's the equivalent of shouting, "I'm different," for the sake of standing out. It's a badge of coolness in the insular community of delusional thinkers. The most frustrating part about conspiracy theorists is how they'll latch on to any absurd theory to make up for their inability to understand basic truths. It is like a shortcut for their minds. Instead of doing the hard work of learning, questioning, and researching, they take the easy way out. If I don't understand it, it must be a conspiracy. For instance, consider the rise of anti-vaccine conspiracy theories. Many people believe that vaccines cause autism, despite an overwhelming amount of scientific evidence proving the opposite. These beliefs are based on a long-debunked study and have been thoroughly disproven by countless scientific bodies, including the World Health Organization. But for the conspiracy theorists, facts don't matter. What matters is having an explanation that fits their misunderstanding of science. They cannot comprehend the complex research behind vaccines, so they retreat into their world of alternative facts and irrational fears. And let's be honest, this happens because a lot of these people are not willing to engage with reality. When faced with something they don't understand, instead of seeking answers, they invent them. It's the hallmark of a conspiracy theorist. They take their limited comprehension, wrap it in wild assumptions, and act as though their unverified theories hold more weight than actual research. Moreover, conspiracy theories have real-world consequences. They're not just harmless musings of fringe individuals. When a large group of people begin to believe in conspiracy theories, it erodes trust in institutions, science, and even democracy. The 2020 US presidential election saw baseless conspiracy theories about voter fraud, leading to an unprecedented attack on the US Capitol. This event demonstrated the dangers of allowing conspiracy theories to take root and spread unchecked. What began as wild claims on the internet forums evolved into a violent, real-world movement driven by people who refuse to accept basic electoral facts. To my mind, conspiracy theorists are nothing more than just a group of people dancing around delusions. They're not intellectual rebels. They're not privy to hidden knowledge. They're just people who have chosen to live in a bubble where simple truths do not exist and where their minds refuse to understand. The world is somehow a badge of honor. They act as though going against the grain, no matter how nonsensical their theories are, is a mark of intelligence, when really it's just a sign of their inability to process facts. They reject knowledge offered by experts, scientists, researchers, not because they have better evidence, but because their minds simply cannot handle the truths that come with living in a complex world. One of the reasons these conspiracy theories persist is because they provide a comforting illusion for those who struggle to engage with the complexity of the world. Instead of expanding their understanding, conspiracy theorists cling to simplified, fantastical versions of reality that make them feel smart, rebellious, or enlightened. But in truth, they're none of those things. They're just lost in a delusional dance with nonsense. So the next time someone tells you that the earth is flat, or that the moon landing was faked, remember, you are not engaging with a critical thinker. You're dealing with someone whose grasp on reality is, quite frankly, as shaky as their theories.